One. Hello to each of you in your respective places. Welcome to another segment of Conversations in the Nick of Time. I am your host, Nikki Roach, and it has been a minute since I've been with you. So glad to be back in the makeshift studio. We're still dealing with working around the pandemic and matters to make sure that we are safe, all of the hosts and all the producers. So here we are in my humble abode that I have created over the past 18 months. But we shut down for a while just to kind of reset and to get things back in alignment. I am excited to be back with you. Those who are not familiar with the platform, Conversations in the Nick of Time is like a global classroom where we bring experts and thought leaders to you so that you can hear their story about leadership excellence and leadership accidents. As we know, we need both of them to be successful in whatever industry we may find ourselves and operating and contributing to. Want to thank KSTL 690 AM, Sparkman Publications, and Covenant Exchange LLC for your continued support and sponsorship. Very, very much appreciated. Now, on to our guest for this moment in time. So excited to reconnect with this brother. It has been a minute, like a long minute, like years types of minutes. I had first made his acquaintance, and actually it was in the studio. At that time, I was working, I believe, of course, with the Bosley Show as a producer and on-air talent. And I believe we were on Clear. It was either Radio One or Clear Channel. I think it was Clear Channel. Mm-hmm. And this brother came off that elevator with so much energy. I was like, who is this? And I love the fact that, there's a lesson that I can truly say that many of us can learn from you was the consistency that you have had, Coach Hite, over the years. It's impressive. I will say it's quite impressive being an outsider looking in. You have managed to maintain the consistency despite what has come your way. And I see that and I celebrate that at this moment. And that's real talk. So those of you who are not familiar, Coach Hite III, let's give you just a little bit of background. Also known as Coach Hite, is an energetic, innovative, passionate, inspirational speaker, author, influencer, problem solver, and is a go-to certified master mindset life coach. All of that. This military brat has traveled and lived all around the world, with Germany and Hawaii being in that space, and the consistent moving of every 2 to 3 years caused him to grow some tenacity and be tougher, even at a young age. And because of this, here goes the phase that many may know him by: here we grow again. And so I love that positive outlook, even as a child, that he adapted. He went on, he has a BS a degree in education. He has a master's degree in teaching, a master's degree in education administration. He is now also completing a PhD in Christian counseling at New Covenant Biblical College, 8 life coaching certifications. I could go on and on. He is a sought out people motivator, passionate about people, passionate about inspiring and a host of people, from principals to corporate leaders, all the way down to students of all ages. He has been sought out trainer, leader, coach for companies such as Clayco, Girl Scouts of America, Primerica, United Way, Borns Jewish Hospital, just to name a few. He also, in his spare time, is the director of safety and security and alternative school administrator in the Jennings School District here in the Midwest. That's a school here in the Midwest in St. Louis, Missouri. And he has been serving faculty, staff, students, community for over 20 years. And he's a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha. And he lives in St. Louis, headquartered out of here with his lovely family. And again, applauding you for being so consistent in all of these different spaces, and then now being elevated, I would say, in so many ways to bring us a mindset of not quitting. How are you?
I am great. I am humbled, Nikki. I appreciate it. You know, when
Yeah.
you read those accolades, it makes me so humbled by a kid that just with a learning disability that struggled in school. And so many people kept saying I was too small to play college football and all those things. And just that don't quit mentality you talked about, I appreciate it. I'm humbled to be a part of your organization today on here and just want to touch some folks today because we have to realize we got to inspire each other and leave a legacy. And I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that today. I appreciate you.
I no, this has been wonderful. Now, I know some people may say, well, where does the coach come in? Yes, you are a life coach, but when I initially met you, you were coaching on the field, and
Man.
like for real, the field, not the field of life.
Right, right.
Although we
Not the
can
field
tie
of
that
life
in.
like we speak
Yeah,
about, right.
yeah.
Right. Literally coaching. Young people has always been my passion, even when I was a young person. And it's amazing. I was mentoring. I would say I probably started my first group at probably 12. Obviously, I had a younger brother, but
Well,
also we volunteered. You know, in a military base, you had to help out. You
yeah.
know, dads were deployed. My dad was in a special ops group where he left on secret missions. So we had to bond together with families and we had to help each other out. So with him being a leader in the group and over those troops, then guess what? I had to mentor their younger kids and everybody didn't have siblings. So I was thrown into that role automatically. Think about it. If dads are gone and they're deployed somewhere for 6 months, who's going to keep them busy? Other siblings. Well, they didn't have siblings. So my mom put me in charge of those kids. So from Tupperware sales at the house to bingo nights over at the house, popcorn nights, kids that didn't look like me, kids that weren't in my same demographic, we had to learn how to adapt. So those people skills and mentoring came early. So after that, of course, I got into education and it just was natural for me to work with young people from then on out.
Now, I love the fact how you have already jumped in and connected the dots in regards to how this is not something that just happened. I know a lot of people are stumbling into spaces of the unknown that they didn't know, like skill sets because of COVID.
Absolutely.
However, this goes
Mm-hmm.
all the way back, you said, to 12, where you had to step up,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a choice. You could have chose to do some other things, but something within you, and I'm sure the impact of parental concern, love, and chastening, and all of that different things,
Right.
to help steer you in that space. What would you say is something that, outside of just working with those kids, that stands out to you from those early years? Because, like, it's clear there's a connection.
It was I was raised with a don't quit mentality. My dad was military, but he came out of Wellston. My mom and he
Oh,
were the first
wow.
blacks that were at Southwest High School. They were the first group that bust over there. They were out there with the shaking the bus and all that stuff at Southwest. But my dad even then was living in Wellston, but going to school over on the hill. So he was actually the only African American male. But it was always that you're not going to be a dumb athlete. You're going to be a student athlete. And he raised me to say he turned down scholarship stuff because my mom was pregnant with me when they came out of high school. And guess what? They decided to say, we're going to join the military and going to travel the world. And it got me out of that situation where we might have been. It wasn't talking bad about the neighborhoods that he grew up in. He's wanted a different opportunity for us. So growing up out the gate, it was always, you don't quit. You come from a struggle. So you're going to have that don't quit mentality. So the Here We Grow Again came from moving every 2 to 3 years as a military brat. That's just what it was. Different country, different city, and you had to adapt. You had to learn with different languages. You had to learn with different people that didn't look like you, foreign countries. So that at the time as a kid seemed like not a punishment, but kind of like a negative at that time.
Okay.
But we were literally taught that all negatives are going to turn into positives. That's what we're doing. We're turning negatives into positives. So you rally with these other families, with these other kids. And at that time, I didn't realize it. They were giving me these skills, getting in front of a group of people and doing a skit to get people to not think about hey, somebody's dad just passed and he got killed in a deployment. So now we're coming up ways to help the family. You know, it was wraparound services at a young age that we had to learn how to do. And I didn't realize that was a gift I was developing. God puts us in situations that we feel like may not be the best for us, but we come out through that storm on the other side, then things start to grow. You know,
Wait a
you
minute now.
got me started with that. I'm
Wait
sorry.
a minute now. I was gonna say, wait a minute. Let me punch in the Cash App.
I'm sorry.
Send over some offerings.
A couple of nuggets now.
No,
this was real, you know, and I, looking back on it, when we share with classmates on Facebook and stuff, they're like, you turned that whole thing around. Some of us didn't. And I was like, that's true. Some people didn't, you know, they turned into a negative. Now I'm gonna be down about it and all that. Right. I mean, if I think about it now, it's like, wow, we really did grow every time. You had no choice. And we just said, well, since we got no choice, we better learn and have a good time. See, I never take a loss. My dad always taught us you never take a loss. You take a L, but it's not a loss, it's a learn. Each time you don't win the game, guess what? You lost, but you didn't lose, you learned. That's the L that we learn how to take. And just turn those negatives into positives. And you asked about the energy, that's where it comes from. It's just that blessing, you know, it just comes from all the time. I'm like this. I hate to say it, but it's just me. You know, that's some people say, well, it's me because I don't talk very much. Well, it's me because I got that energy. That day you saw me come off the elevator, I was still dealing with stuff, and you didn't know that I'm claustrophobic, and that elevator took a while for me to get off of, and it was bothering me. But I looked at it like, but when we get off, I'm ready. I'm getting up in there and I'm gonna talk. I'm ready. You know?
Yeah.
It's this mindset. It's changing your mindset to increase things and make them better rather than make them bring you down. It brings you up.
Yeah, I know I have had a previous guest, and he is due to return soon. Professor Nicholas Powell. He always talks about fixed mindset versus growth mindset.
Absolutely,
and it's a choice, but it's also a muscle, and you can appreciate this. I'm sure, being a coach, that you don't go in, and then also you saying that people pointed you out as being not fit,
right,
for the field. You know, the football. Right. However, you turned that around. And so how we turn all this around in regards to, I think all of us, anyone who is making moves, anyone who is, who's positioning themselves to do more.
Right.
And my thing is, on this platform, everybody's a leader. It's just a matter of how are you showing up and where are you showing up. But everyone can lead from where they are. And when you're leading, that means change. And when you're having change, no different than when you say that every 2 to 3 years you're moving, we should be moving. This, you know, the same. But yet, what we do, we get so satisfied, and then we get stuck. And and we think like, oh my gosh, you know, there's nothing more, or do I really want to give up what I've done here to go into something I don't know? Because you're a rock star here. Right. But if you go over there, there's something new and you're starting somewhat over, but not really starting over, because, as you said, all these things, as they say, all things work together for the good of them. All things. It's the all.
They didn't say a couple of them. All things, even the ones we don't like.
Yes. Yes. And then you talked about having a learning disability. I wasn't aware of that.
Absolutely.
How would you navigate
dyslexia? It was one of those things where I was good at masking it. You know, I was able to talk and actually navigate that deal. But even like in high school, I said I wasn't gonna pull out anything crazy while I was on the thing with you. But in high school, this guy right here that played football right here. Oh, let me show the box, because it definitely ain't on there anymore. The high top box, you know, it wasn't on there. But that same guy that was playing, that was class. I mean, it's not about me bragging. It's to encourage somebody that's listening that at that time I should have asked for help and would have made things so much easier. See, the problem is that as young men, we're taught as boys, you don't cry. You don't need to ask for help because you're tough and you handle it. And my dad morphed out of that as he was in the military. But my mom was coming on the back end saying, look, it's okay to cry, because when you cry, you watering your seeds. That's your growth. So sometimes you got to cry to get through it. And that's what I started doing sometimes, because kids didn't know that I didn't know how to read. I'm class president. I'm prom king. I'm homecoming king. I moved from one country to another. And when I get there, I become class president in a new school as a new student. I'm just telling you the level of being able to navigate. But at the same time, my academics were down here because, again, I remember him saying no dumb athletes. So I didn't want to be labeled dumb. So I stepped back and kind of didn't want to say I was struggling, because when I looked at that information and tried to read, it just didn't look like it was correct to me. And when I would read it, it was in reverse. So the dyslexia and those labels that they throw out, those were stigmas that you didn't want to admit you had. But later on, I realized, like going through college, as I got put out of, I call it academic probation and suspension 7 times through grad school. And I lost count at 7 times for all them degrees on that wall, because I still had that don't quit mentality that I have to start asking for help. So a man is not weak, or a woman is not weak because they ask for help. A man remains strong because they ask for help. A young woman remains strong when you ask for help, because you're not doing this all by yourself. As much as you think you are, you're not doing it all by yourself. And that mindset is what I had. And going forward, I started getting that help, getting at those things to be able to get it read to me aloud, other things that were modifications that could help. And then I was able to work through that. But just what you said, no colleagues know until this past year, when I finally started talking about it, that I have that learned disability, because it was no excuses. We don't make excuses. You don't make excuses, because you can't make excuses and money at the same time. You can't make excuses and be successful at the same time. So I couldn't be the things I wanted to be in life and just keep making excuses. Well, I'm having problems reading, so I'm not going to push forward. No, you can't do that. So I just had to push. No excuses. Just do it.
That's so interesting how you're even reflecting on, we're not supposed to cry. We're not supposed to ask for help. And now, would you say that's something that you ended up mastering at a younger age, or are you still challenged with that today?
Because that's your, what do they say? That's your, that may be your trauma. That may be your hot button, your thing you deal with. I do more of it now because I've seen the results. Okay. When I was younger, it was like, I'm going to not deal with that, but it catches up to you. That's why I learned the hard way. When you get put out of those classes, or when you academically don't raise to the level, then you got to pay for class. After football scholarships, I had to pay for class. So then guess what? That was the best grades I made. What they say, if you pay more, you pay more attention. Listen,
I am an advocate, even for myself.
Yes.
How can I put some skin in the game?
That's it.
To be held accountable. And so even when it comes to certain things, I know myself, because I can, put it off. I'll get around to it, or you don't, as you said, you don't go all in.
Right.
And because you don't go all in, because there's no investment. You want a return on your investment, right?
That's right. That's right. You're like, if I spent this money for this, I'm going to class. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's grad school. I got to get a B or higher, or it doesn't count. And I got to retake it again. Oh, no, I'm going to class. I'm going to get these done. And yeah, I was helping a lot of young people in grad school, coaching like you saw me doing, missing class because I'm out coaching, because I believe in helping the kids more than I believe in helping myself. That was all growth process and learning. But at the same time, you can't help people if you haven't got yourself taken care of.
Listen.
See, we talking about self-care, and we got to talk about also handling our own business. So once I got those degrees and was able to move up in the leadership roles, then I was able to do even more. Yeah. But that's another thing that you're just learning. Again, you're not going to say, sometimes people don't want to say, okay, that's too much for me, so I need to say no to a few things. See, we have to learn to say no to some things, because if we're saying yes to everything, then some stuff is not going to get done. And that's a no anyway.
Yeah. What would you say that you could have said no to some years ago, in the past, something that you could have said no to, but it may have still, of course, it works out for you, for us, but for you, what's one thing you would have, or could have?
I would have said no to being a part of everything. When I was in college, I still had that mindset like it was high school, like I'm going to be in this group, I'm in that group, I'm voted this person most likely to be funny, whatever the things are. But I didn't have to participate in everything,
Yeah.
and when you got to college, the stakes were higher. They were paying for me to play football. I was a student athlete. So
Mhm.
academics was a part of being eligible. So it was like, I'm going to lose my scholarship if I don't do my schoolwork. So even though I love my fraternity, I started getting into the fraternity business and all the partying. And it was like, I should have said no to some of that stuff, because at the end of the day, if I didn't have the academics, then I don't get a chance for them to pay my money, for school. It's that's a growth process, saying no and realizing your personality. I have an addictive personality to things that I do like. Okay. So I should have said no to a few things, and I didn't. So I learned the hard way. I did.
Yeah.
I learned
Yeah.
the hard way. And
I
yeah,
think we all have something. And I love
absolutely.
when people are able to, not go into all the nitty-gritty of things, but at
Mhm.
least just to share, because oftentimes we get so focused, we being outsiders looking in to
Mhm.
someone else's life, and we see you on the platform, we see, the posts on social media, we
Mhm.
see the events, or as everyone, various people post, where they've been speaking, or they have a
Right.
photo op on the stage. We see all that, but
Mhm.
the getting there
Absolutely.
is like, okay, who's sharing that story?
Mhm. Mhm. I'm doing that more now,
Mhm.
because that's the stuff that they say the behind the scenes is the stuff that makes me feel it's real.
Yeah.
It's I say this thing all the time. It's saying, how can I teach you how to swim if I don't know how to swim? So I'm standing on the shore saying, swim to the shore, swim to the shore. You probably heard about that, because I did that at a presentation with some teachers. I was like, it was at Carlisle Lake. And long story short, all my uncles fished ever since I was born. But I'm on the edge of the boat helping move the boat in, and I fell into the lake. And the current took me under. And I'm talking about by the dam. I'm talking about the swift waters and everything.
Okay.
And all in my mind, I kept thinking is, I don't have to worry about anything, because my uncles, they've been fishing all my life. I know they're going to jump in and save me. And none of them could swim. All 5, 6 of them, I think total. One's in the car and the other one's on the bank. And you know what they're saying? Swim to the shore. Swim to the shore. But if you really think about that, what is that telling me to do? You're telling me to swim, but y'all don't even know how to swim. So at 10 plus years old, I started swimming myself on my own, though. I figured it out. Doggy pedal, backstroke, climb, crawl, whatever you want to say it was. But I got out of that water by myself. And by the grace of God, it was a time for me to realize that I can't go around telling people to do stuff, and I've never been through it.
Oh my God. So this is
Can't
such an
do it.
article. This
Mm-hmm.
is such an article, or a book, a chapter in a
Absolutely.
book, because
Absolutely.
there are so many lessons tied to that in regards
Mm-hmm.
to being it. Because I always say you can't lead where you've not been.
Absolutely.
So
Woo!
you have that, but then you also have to be mindful. Like, I'm in you. Who are you in the boat with? And,
Right.
and what are they capable of doing?
Right. Right.
Even the people that you know, even the people you know. So
Right.
it's like a matter of like stop and assess. We need to
Mm-hmm.
assess who's in the boat with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have time to assess anything other than the fact that I was going under. It was taking me under. And I just said, I'm gonna have to do it on my own. But swimming to the shore, that description, they weren't saying, okay, put this right arm here, this left arm here. They weren't giving me any roadmap. So, and I love them, and I talk about it. They don't like when I tell a story,
That's
because they
okay.
like,
They set you up. This is
and
this is
guess
part
what?
of the
And
all
that was a
things.
generational thing they learned or didn't learn through the years, how to swim. So what's the first thing I did when I went to Thailand? Made sure I isolated my kids enough to teach them how to swim, because I knew it would be an issue. Now, can I swim now? I do when it's needed, because it was like, I learned that day, didn't I? And that's
Right.
not how we need to learn. Why do we have to be baptized by fire, like literally, where we get burned
Right.
all up? We shouldn't have to, because we
Okay.
can be taught that it's hot from the jump, right?
I love that. I love that. Here's another takeaway.
Okay,
You
come on
just
with it.
no, you just said it. We don't have to, as leaders, as
Mm-hmm.
individuals, as
Mm-hmm.
emerging leaders, we don't have to always learn by baptism of fire.
Right.
That's that reactive space that, and I know sometimes, raise my hand first, that you know, there's not a way around that all the time. While other times, you know, there are surprises, but there are things, as you're saying, that we can be mindful of. You say you had been doing this for years.
Right.
What are we doing even now in our respective industries? And we have been doing for years. I know even I had a chance, Faye Fleming and Deborah Patterson were on not too long ago, and we were talking about the different levels of leadership. And it was so interesting for Ms. Deborah Patterson to tell us in regards to making sure that we are doing what we need to do to be prepared before you're walking into rooms.
Right.
And so preparation is a whole bunch of different things, not just physical, but your mental, mental as well as your knowledge. And a lot of times, like, how many times have you been in a meeting and you're rushing into the meeting to find your seat and you're just trying to scan over the notes, or you're on your cell phone scanning, trying to read like what's that's not prepared. And then that's still putting you in that reactive, not proactive. Right. And the thing is, it can backfire from time to time. But at the same time, I again just love how that nugget in regards to not always having to position ourselves in this baptism by fire, not even just as youth, but even as adults, you know.
Adults. Right. It's like blueprints and playbook, you know. You have the blueprint and you have a playbook. It's like why I always say I'm giving you, as Coach Hite, I'm giving you the plays to get you through the days. So if I got a play to help you out, then why don't you run that play? As a player, you don't turn around and say, well, you know what, I'm gonna do it my own way. You know, it's like we're coaching, so we have leadership in place. So it's like sometimes if I trust you, then why am I not trying it your way? That's what we got to get back to, a lot more trust in leadership. And obviously trust is earned, but we're doing so much trying to fight against people that are in leadership. It's like we got to do this together. Right. And I'm just pushing a lot more of that now. Plays to get you through the days. You know, come up with, I don't know all the answers, but when I'm around people, like you said, I'm in the boat with certain people, let me look around and figure out who does this well, you do that well. Okay, let's all work together to do our parts. You know, people always saying stay in your lane, but I need you in this lane so we can ride together. And if you can handle the driving, I can handle navigating, other person can get the snacks. I mean, you good with that? I mean, let's do some, you know, it's teamwork. They keep saying you just coaching. No, it's just life. I didn't get here by myself, you know. People are like looking at the fruit, but they're not looking at what the roots are. You're looking at the fruit. The root was a whole lot of trial and error. The roots was a lot of preparation, like you said. And if one more person walk in a presentation or walk in a meeting or walk in a situation where we got to make a decision, and as leaders, we get done talking about it, and then they go, but I'm going to go pray about it first. You should have prayed before you came in here. Just
see,
like
that's that preparation.
Ain't it? Ain't that preparation? I'm all right, Lord, please, as soon as I get in here, leave my tongue, whatever you got to say. But come on in here and don't get done with it all and go, okay, but I know we got to make a move right now and it's all about to crash. But let me go pray on it first. Come on now. Don't put that on God, because you know good well he will never leave you nor forsake you. So you're supposed to do that before you come in there. So you be speaking in the right mode. That's preparation. I love it. I love it.
Now you speak a lot about and your experience hovers around this whole team dynamic and the engagement of people when it comes to even you being the 12-year-old, bringing, like you bring community together. You talked about bringing people across different races, and you know we are all about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Absolutely. On this platform. And so you're bringing people together, but then also even in your work now, you're doing the same thing. What would you say has been the greatest challenge when we talk about building community, building teams today that you encounter?
It's the belief system that it can happen with so much. I don't want to know what's the biggest word to use. It's not a big word to use to cover it all, but just division. You know, I go back to the school teacher mode, just division. We covered negatives. Now I'm gonna cover division now. Between people thinking that one side is this and you're that, and all these titles for politics and stuff. As speakers, we don't go into religion and politics because that's the stuff seems to be getting people all off kilter right now. But if I answered your question, I would say the biggest thing is people realizing that we have more in common than they want to admit. And for people just admitting and saying, I'm fearful of that. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Just admit and say, it has nothing to do with political party. I'm just fearful I'm gonna lose XYZ, or fearful I'm not prepared because I don't have this or that and that stuff. And then we're attacking ignorance because one group of people is not gonna take you down just be, you know what I'm saying? You know, I'm throwing them out. I'm not going in deep into it, but I am throwing it out there. It's like, why are we fearful of that? Well, what did you learn when you were younger? See, you talked about me when I was 12, but one thing we learned, all our dads and moms wore green when they go to work. So it didn't matter what color they were.
Yeah.
Whether they were white, black, Hispanic, whether they made a lot of money as an officer, a general. My dad was enlisted, but he was a high-ranking enlisted, but we still struggled financially, but we didn't make excuses for that.
Right.
So what I'm saying is it's like, I got to walk with kings and not lose my common touch. I got to be able to be around people so they understand that I want to know what they're going through. So I don't agree with them on their views, but I at least want to know what they're going through. Why are we having people being prejudiced to a certain group of people in this day and age with all this mixing of different ethnicities, different countries and everything? Are you serious? Are we still back in that ignorant mindset? And that's what I'm fighting against. That is, I cross over a lot easier than most people do, easier than some people do, but it's still in the back of my mind. Like, did I just have to cover that?
No, but no. What do you mean by crossover?
I mean crossover. Like, I'll get into that conversation, they won't even know it because they'll be laughing, and my energy overrides their negative part. Gotcha. That's what I mean by crossover. Like the event that I sent you that I'm doing in St. Charles. Yeah, that's in an environment that normally wouldn't even have me in there. Correct. Politically, or how I look. Correct. Know? And some people were looking at the name, and when I came up on the stage, when I did the smaller event, they were just like, and I could tell. And I said, I know, yeah, I didn't send a photo in. And you guys brought me into this Rotary. And then after that, they wouldn't let me leave. You know what I mean? It was just like.
But see, and this is going back to what you said. We have more in common than we don't, than not.
And more differences, exactly.
The thing is giving a chance. But I, like you, and I'm not going to get on my soapbox, like, are we really, really still having these conversations? Right. Yet everyone is saying we're working on it. We're making progress, but we're still having basic conversations around around race, around gender, all these different things. And yeah, I always say this.
What do we have to say? It's got to be inclusion. You should be included because you showed up at the job. I hired you. You got input. If I'm asking you a question, I'm not in here going, well, I'm only going to ask this group of people over here to look this way because they know how we really should go. Really? With all these inventors, with all these other things that other countries are doing, we have people that don't look like you that have ideas too as well. Are you really that ignorant to that point to where you think, oh, no, it's not going to work? Yeah. You know? And that's the thing that we're struggling with. I'm talking about as a human race. I'm not even talking about just our country. I'm just talking about as a human race. And if some aliens came down here tomorrow and they showed up, would you be in there talking about, well, now what? I mean, you're gonna say you don't want to hear from them either? Because they flew in on spaceships, so they obviously got something better than we got on technology. But you still going, no, I don't want to include them either. No inclusion for them either. But we need the equity though. We need, come on now. We're still having those conversations.
Yeah. And even in those conversations, I'm sure there's always a surprise oftentimes in regards to like where we land in, again, it's still the foundation. It's too many foundational conversations happening. But my thing is, we have to start where we have to start.
Mm-hmm.
And I am an advocate for let's have some conversation, but when do we move to action?
Right.
And but in that, what would you say, that's on the team dynamic side. What would you
Mm-hmm.
say on the leadership side for yourself? What has been an accident,
Mm-hmm.
something that was a lesson learned
Mm-hmm.
in your latter years, at being a coach, that you could share with us?
It's not taking it personal when somebody disagrees with you. And that's that part I was talking about a minute ago. It's like, because people are more diverse, why are you taking it so personal? Because they have another idea, or they might be able to do something better than you do. I'm working together with you. That's the whole point. If you're hanging around all the people that are less than you and not as good as you, you're hanging around the wrong people. You need to be around a group that is somewhat, quote unquote, maybe higher skilled than you in some certain things, so you can keep learning. When we stop learning, we stop living. And I don't know nobody that's ready to stop living. Nobody's ready to die. So why are you stop? At my age now, I'm learning every day. I'm learning from the youth I work with, because I want to know why. I go to some presentations, and some companies are starting to bring me in now to do the whole working between baby boomers and Gen Zs, or baby boomers and millennials, a different mindset and stuff like that. Why am I threatened by you? Because you're from a different generation. I'm supposed to learn from you, and you're going to learn from me.
Yeah.
When you grab the phone, you know how to swipe and do it differently. My kids know how to do it better than I do. So why am I not going, I don't want to learn that. I don't want to use that phone. Everybody got to use a smartphone now, no matter what.
It's true.
I mean, come on. So that's the thing I've learned, is not to take it personal when people attack you, because a lot of people are carrying what I call excess baggage. They got all these bags on, and they carrying them around, and you don't even know. They got this bag, they got a trash bag, they got a backpack. They've been through some stuff, and you don't know where they are at that moment. They may be smiling, but on the inside, they got a lot of excess baggage. That's another presentation I do as well. That's another nugget.
The baggage.
I mean, they got excess baggage. So here you come saying, let's run, but they can't run with all these suitcases in their hand. Last person looked like you, did me wrong. I had a learning disability. I got this, they got baggage. And at that time, as a leader, when you come to them with something that you think is simple, hey, I'm gonna need to change you to a new position. So you're not getting fired, but we need you to help out in this section. And could you lead this group? And what is going on? You don't know what baggage they carried in that situation. So I used to take it personal as a leader and bring up your stress level. And you feel like you can save everybody, even education. We feel like we can save every kid, but nothing runs your blood pressure up more than going around thinking you're going to save every person. But every person can save themselves, and you have to come to grips with that and just be a leader regardless.
Right. And that you bring us to the point of knowing our worth, knowing our value, but knowing the why that we're in position in regards to, because you're right. Like, I'm sure many leaders can tap into a time or a season where you worked a little harder at something than it was being received.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that was a person, whether there was a project, whether there was a place, it wasn't reciprocated in regards to the appreciation or in regards to the need and the worth that you were bringing. But that taking it personal, that is a muscle that you have to work out, especially when you have, I will say, individuals of color, like, men and women of color. And as we move up, sometimes we can have this internal conflict in regards to, like, I'm here, and they call it all these different names. Imposter syndrome is one of them. I'm here and I've got it. I've got the opportunity. I'm on the stage, but it's still this internal, like, am I worth it? Am I worthy? But then you're still trying to prove when you already you're doing it. They invited you. You're there. So you don't have to do that but again, that's a muscle that's strength. Because as you were saying, you know, as you are elevated and you know, you start off at one level and then you start going to another, the platforms get larger,
Right.
the audiences get more diverse,
Right.
more privilege is surrounding you around those tables and stages, and there's a greater demand, there's a greater sense of responsibility. That's a heavy weight. So when you talk about even the baggage that you're talking about dealing with other people, just think as leaders, we're bringing just as much sometimes.
All that baggage. Yes, ma'am.
On top of the what we came with, right?
Well, what we came with already, right. The other stuff we had. And it just reminds me of when I made those mistakes, when I took it personal, you know, back in the days, like when you used to see me, you know, I had two phones. Well, one was the work phone and one was a cell phone. But back then, a lot of people didn't have that. Cell phone was my personal phone, and then I had my work phone. Well, I kept the other one so I wouldn't be making personal calls on the work. Now, some people have two phones, and people are like, that's all you got is two phones, you know. But back then, he always got them suits on, and they in the meeting talking loud where I can hear it now. I come in, he always got them suits on. He got two phones. He got to be doing something illegal, guys. There's no way he this happy about working with these kids, you know. It's like I'm in the room, I can hear you, you know, and I'm coming in bringing a grant program to your neighborhood to help your kids and your environment. So back then, I took it personal, you know. They don't know me. Don't be attacking my character, you know. And I had to get to that point to where I was like, you know what? All right. And a few mentors, and that helps all the time when you got mentors who've done it, you know, seasoned your age or not, that can talk to you about the level-headedness you have to be the leader, because otherwise you would shut down and not even want to lead. And I didn't do that. I still helped those kids in the long run. And those same people that were talking, they came back and wound up benefiting from the program too. Yeah. So when you make it not about you, and don't take those hits on personally, then you're able to move on to the next level. But new level, new devil, and don't you didn't even say anything about more money coming, because when they got more money coming, then everybody got some more questions and some things to say.
Listen, that's a whole nother conversation, right? and the thing, like you said, it doesn't even have to be like legit or official yet. It's just it works.
It just looks like it's more. Oh yeah. Yeah. You on a billboard? Oh man, where is he? Oh yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit before, as we're wrapping up, what is all the hype around Hite You, HiteU.com, and then Hite helping individuals triumph every day. I love it.
HITE, helping individuals triumph every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Every day. I have to switch out every now and then. Now,
I know.
But it's just about Coach Hite. It was something I developed with a person that struggled through academics and been in school as long as I have. I felt like, why not? Let's put some stuff online to help people like me and people not like me. And it's got videos, it's got ebooks. You know, you want to hear it from audio, you can hear it that way. If you want to read it, you can do it that way. As an educator through the years, I just always kept looking like we have different learners, so why are we not teaching different ways? Yeah. You can't come in with the wah. Now it's going to be a test. Everybody doesn't learn that way. So with Coach Hite, we integrate different things with videos. We integrate with different things with other styles of learning. And I'm able to put my scenario videos on there while act out different skits that help people. Anything from how are you that loud parent that's at the youth game when it's 7-year-olds and you out there screaming like you at an NFL game and they professionals, you know, that type stuff, you know, giving people coaching along the way, those plays that get you through the days. So it's Coach Hite, COACH, and the letter HITE and the letter U.com is my site where people can get those lessons and those plays to get them through the days.
And I love it because there are a list of categories in regards to, or at least curriculum. It's more like curriculum,
right?
That's laid out, and I think there's like 3 buckets that you can kind of click into, and then there you have your drop menu in regards to which sessions that you would
Right.
want to have more interest in. That is so great. How did you even come up with the concept though? Because I mean, yeah, you're on the field, but it's
we say live on the field of life because people, and believe it or not, it was a few tough scenarios. One was a former player that was dealing with some depression, and I didn't have an outlet to help him other than a phone call. Coach, I need to talk to you. But what if I'm not available? And I didn't have a vehicle set up at that time. So he's okay with me telling this. He was a student at SLU, and he tried to take his life. So when you have that hit you here, and that's your why you do this, to help young people, because some young people helped me when I was on those military bases and dealing with my dad being deployed and stuff. I'm sorry. It gets you emotional because that why, if that why doesn't make you cry, then that's not your why. And that drives me beyond it to say, let's develop something. And I'm going to do that, even though I'm doing all this other stuff, to where 24/7, they could get some kind of access, something to inspire them, something to motivate them. And I mean, it's ironic that you say that. About a month ago, I went back to SLU to speak to some students because 2 more students in 2 weeks actually killed themselves at that university.
I work there now.
Come on. So I came in.
So I know.
Okay, so you know. So a young man brought me to the student center. It was an Alpha fraternity brother called me and said, Coach, they are running out of people for us to talk to. They told us if you have issues, they're going to try to get back with us. We got people struggling right now. Yeah. I'm there. I don't want to hear about what it costs, nothing. Where's the room? When can I be there? And I had to tell them that same story, that I had a student that literally needed me, and I had no vehicle for him to plug into, except for when he called, and it's the middle of the night. But now with Coach Hite, somebody can log on, get some of the funny, get some of the serious, get some of the coaching. And then during COVID, I really got smacked with it because we were isolated so long. I said, I better get some life coaching classes in so I can really do this, because people were hitting me up then like, I don't care. I'm calling you direct. I'm struggling. I need that energy. And for an Energizer bunny like me, that's hype a lot, then I had to switch gears because I was a little out of it because I couldn't get in front of crowds like I normally do.
Yeah. And you don't even realize how it depletes you.
Exactly.
Or it makes you stop and question, like, am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Or let me reassess this. I went through that whole process. And the thing is, it's like, but I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Then you're questioning. So can you imagine if you're a hype man going through these cycles? What about those who were not there yet?
Not even there yet. And it took family members to call. I was doing Zooms before Zooms got popular.
Yeah,
because we were trying to do it as a speaker, right?
Yes.
But I never really did a speech on the Zoom at that time. You know what I mean? Because it was like we're having a meeting to talk about we're getting together, and then we go to the event and here's a crowd. But then it was no crowd. So I was thrust into the
no energy.
No energy. You got to hate it. It was like, okay, this real right here. So just a lot of prayer, just a lot of vision through having that quiet time, which it did help develop some actual ideas for us to do it. So my team got together and we launched it even more. We were like, look, we were already doing the virtual before it was virtual. So let's launch it more and go do it. So when we do come back in person, we're still doing that as well. So I started doing the voiceovers on YouTube. Motivational thing has 8 million views. That was one that was called Stop Wasting Time. And that was a guy took a quote and 2 I made and put them on with a Les Brown video. And that's 8 million views. But that was something I was doing because I was speaking to myself, but also to others. And I got helped at the same time, and so did they. So that's the big thing we're pushing now. It's like, okay, we went through that for a reason. So I can't explain it all, but I know we're going to turn that negative into a positive.
Full circle.
Full circle, no doubt.
Full circle. No doubt. And I love how you were able to just articulate how it was a why that initiated and triggered the launch of this online platform that you have, HiteU.com.
CoachHiteU.com.
Coach Hite, HITE.com, you.com.
Letter U.com. Yes, ma'am.
But then because of life, because of
Mm-hmm.
things happening in the world,
Mm-hmm.
you were sensitive enough to say, hey, wait a minute, we need to do more. We need to take advantage. We need to optimize this opportunity. We need to leverage
Right.
what we had, our resources, and tap into some possibly things to complement
Mm-hmm.
what we've already been
Absolutely.
doing. And I'm pulling that out because someone who's listening, a lot of times people will say, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, trust me, you're already doing it.
That's right.
It's just a matter of how do you put these pieces together, or as you say, rest yourself in all the
Mm-hmm.
bags.
Mm-hmm. Take that baggage off.
It
Absolutely.
might just be in the bags, though, you know.
Yeah, right.
So
Right.
it's just so amazing to hear you speak. You say this, and a lot of times I will say this. A lot of times, my female guest will tap into this, but my male guests don't always get to that point to where it was an emotional why.
Right. I always say if your why doesn't make you cry, then that's not your why.
Okay.
It literally has to be like if somebody is talking crazy to me about something, which does happen, and I got to focus back and I got to look at my phone, take my phone and look at my picture of my family, my wife, and my kids. That's my why. And that'll make me go back and dig deeper to that. That's what I mean by saying if your why doesn't make you cry. So being able to save that young man by the fact that he was trying to take his life and then now be able to mentor and coach him now is a why, you know? So that'll push me past that area where I want to give up and quit. I always tell some dads that I talk to that are young dads that are former players of mine and now they're dads now and they understand. I say, every time you think you're going to quit, I want you to look left or look right at them little people looking at you, and then you don't have to worry about quitting. Yeah. Because I see who's watching. That's why I didn't quit. Yeah. And that's that mentality of keeping going with that as well. That why is strong. People, I heard some other people try to talk bad about it, saying, well, you keep talking about the why, it needs to be the how. If I don't have a why, I can know how to do it and I'm not going to do it like you said. Yeah. I mean, people are some people that are great teachers. Yeah. And they don't have that why going on right now because they got to go back to that why they teaching. After the pandemic, everybody was in the house for 2 years. Kids are undisciplined. Kids are coming in doing all kind of stuff they've never seen in years. And then we got to deal with the fact that you might get sick. So with all that on top of our educators, who I say are the frontline people as well, it's like, I got to go back to the reason I got into education because they're literally saving lives now because being at home with no supervision, that's not going to help at all. And we're losing kids. So that's back to the why. So everybody has their different whys. You know, your why may be to retire early. It may be to be able to get somebody out of a neighborhood, whatever it is. But that why is what you focus on. And then the how and everything just works itself out because the why is going to drive you.
Yeah. And that is just so on point in regards to, like you said, going back to the why. You use the example of educators, but across all industries, you know, going back to that why. And right now we are going through this great resignation to where people are really taking a look at what matters. What are priorities? What are my values? What things align with that and what things don't align with that? I think many of us have pressed pause over these past 18 or so months to say, okay, what can I cut off? What can I add on? What can I leave alone? Right?
Yes. What can I say no to and leave alone? Absolutely.
Back to saying no, and then not taking it personal, as you say.
Please make some adjustments.
Right. So now I know you have a couple of things coming up, and we'll make sure we post that information in regards to upcoming events. Congratulations. I'm so excited. I'm like, oh my God, look at all these billboards and his little articles and
like this. It's real now.
It is. What do you tell now that because you're laughing, but I sense a little nervousness. What do you tell yourself in this moment?
That kid that sat in the classroom that had that learning disability that realized that I was talking in class and masking it. And I was getting in trouble for talking. And I kept asking them teachers, why you keep singling me out and making them excuses, guy, because they prejudiced. That's why they picking on me. Then when I got a black teacher, then she was saying the same thing. Hite, you talking. I'm like, everybody else talking. Why you keep singling me out? To realize that same kid didn't have to use a microphone in order to articulate his voice because his voice carried. And that was my gift at that time. So I'm realizing that that gift is in me now. So I just have to keep sharing it. That's all. And my mentor, Dr. Art McCoy, said something to me at a point when I was going to get ready to just stop education because somebody had broke me down to where I was like, okay, I'm going to do something else. He said, I see you, I support you, and you are sufficient. And that's all I need to hear at that point. And I was like, I'm going to use that. So when I get ready to hit the stage, even on November 10th, I'm going to say, ready, set, let's grow.
Let's grow.
Say now, because that gets that mind ready. You know, the coaching, I'm going to have my whistle ready, and let's grow. Because whatever happens that day, I'm going to grow from it. I'm not going to take an L. We're going to take a learn from it. So that's what I tell myself. So nervous is just exciting because I'm ready to just get to it. Because I want that energy release. I want to get in there and get interactive. I mean, get them out moving around. It's not going to be no keynote. No, it's going to be, I'm going to have people moving around the room. They're going to be like, what is going on? Stuff flying in the air. I mean, drum line, all kind of stuff going to be going on. But it's just what I was born to do. And, you know, I always throw it out with this right here. People remember the birthdays all the time. And then they remember the day people died. And that's what they put on the tombstone. The year they were born and the year they died. Right. But that dash in the middle, that's the legacy they left behind.
Yes.
That's all the stuff they did in order to impact other people's lives. That's the legacy, that dash in the middle. And that's what I'm working on right now. It's an important dash in the middle. So I'm going to remember that when I get up there, and I'm just going to go for it because I'm going to help some folks. And that dash is not a negative either.
I love it. I love it.
Positive.
And I am so grateful that we were able to finally press pause and catch our breath and then have this exchange, this conversation in the nick of time. Is going to be such an instrument and a lifesaver for someone who's listening. I know someone near or far. One last word from you. You have the platform. You're communicating a message to everyone, wherever they may be in the world. If there was one word you wanted to leave us with to keep us motivated, to keep us positioned, to keep us following that why, what one word would you share with us?
It would be inspiration. I don't use motivation as much anymore because motivation only lasts for the moment. And inspiration is in your spirit and it lasts for a lifetime. It's about being inspired. So find your inspiration. Just like you said, we start looking at jobs, we start looking at careers and start looking at things we were doing throughout this whole deal and start reassessing that. So go back and follow that inspiration because that's how you're really going to live. That gets away the stress because you're doing the things that you love to do. That's what that one word, it'd be inspiration. Find your inspiration and live for that. Live for that each and every day. The most important commodity in this world is time. So use that time wisely because you can't buy it, you can't sell it, you can't give it away. You just what you have. So use that time wisely, and that inspiration comes during that time.
I love it. Inspiration. Coach Hite, I want to thank you, Coach Hite III.
Yes,
I want to.
It's a couple of more of those guys.
I know. I want to thank you so much for taking the time.
Look, a few more of them. Look, it's a few more.
Oh my God. Look at
it's four
all lined up.
And that's the fourth, the littlest guy. Yeah, that's the new.
Oh my God. Look, but I love it. You all showing him the way. I
appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I love it. I really appreciate you so much.
Yes, those who want to learn more, make sure you go and visit Coach Hite. So it's Coach COACH Hite HITE.com. And there you can learn about the university, Coach Hite U. You can go there and learn some information. You can also find him on social media under Coach Hite. And we will also post a few details in regards to connecting with him as well as upcoming events. Want to thank you, each and every one of you. Of course, Coach Hite, once again, thank you so much for giving us your time. And then to each of you for giving us your ear and your heart. I know something has been shared to now place in your hands to cause you to not only hear, but also do. Want to thank each and every one of you for giving us your time once again. Success. You know what success is, not according to the world, but it's as you define it. Live it out. It's time, as we just heard. We don't get time